Srila Prabhupada. So we'll give time and we invite Maharaj to speak. And we invite also you in the evening. We continue our festival. And those who want are invited to share a Shraddha Pushpanjali, some heartfelt offering to this extremely deep principle, because Mahat Kripa Vinakon Karma Bhakti Nai. Oh soul, please understand, without entering like in the aura field, in the close association, and without inviting very close Tadiyajans, close associates of Radha and Krishna in our heart, that's what we think is bhakti, is actually karma. Mahat Kripa Vinakon Karma Bhakti Nai. Krishna Bhakti Durena, what to speak of Krishna Bhakti? Sangsa nahi kshay. Not even the very little entrance in the divine realm, the insignificant step in the divine realm, the liberation of samsara, of birth and death, is not a big thing. Not even this will happen. Sangsa nahi kshay. So we are so thankful to worship our Brajendra Nandan by speaking on the confidential servant of him. This is such a wonderful way to worship Krishna. So Maharaj, we invite you to offer, to make him dance.
I'll pray first so they make me dance, and then let's see how the dance unfolds. Yeah. Magyanatimirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshudmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namashreshtam manumati satriputram atrasharupam rupam tasyagrajamurupurim mathurim goshtavatim Radha kundam girivaram maho radhikamadhavasam Prapto yasya pratitta kripaya Shri Gurum tam natasmi. Mam visnupadaya krsna-presthaya bhutale Swami Sri Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada iti namah. gurvajnam sirasi-dhrtva saktyavesa sva-rupine hare-krsneti mantrena pascatya-pracya-tarine visvacarya prabaryaya divya karunya Sri bhagavata-madhurya-gita-jnana pradayine gaura-sri-rupa-siddhanta-saraswati nisevineradha-krsna-padambhoja-bhrngaya gurave namah. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anarpita-charim chirat karunaya kalu shamarpaitam-unnata-jvalarasam svabhakti-shriyam Haripurata-sundara-dyuti kadamba sandipita Sada hridaye kandaresh purato vasachinandana. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Godadai Pushpavantu Chitro Sandutamondo Nilam Uditate Sadasvabiraha Kepam Vitam Bandhavam Srimad Bhagavati Katha Madiraya Sanjeevayam Bhatiya Srimad Bhagavatam Sadasvanayana Ashrupayanai Pujayam Goswami Prabharo Gadadhara Vibhor Bhuyad Made Katgati. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Bhaktya Vihinaya Aparadha Lakshay Kshiptascha Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Sri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai Sri Sri Gaur Gadadhar Ji Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai Sri Nandotsav Ki Jai Birbhap Mahotsav Tithi Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Gaur Premanand Hari Pranam to all, good morning, and thanks so much Krishna Chandra Prabhu for introduction. The Adivas to the next moment, and this is the Adivas to the next moment, and so on. So yeah, I really appreciate your point of today is Nandotsav, today is the big celebration at Nanda Maharaja's courtyard house compound. Krishna is born, the news spread over Braj, and which best way of giving pleasure to the birthday boy than singing the glories of someone like Srila Prabhupada, of intimate sevakas, right? So it's not coincidence that one festivity comes after another, as we said yesterday. It is God incidence. We can call it that way. So, yeah. Usually in birthdays, right? The normal thing is during a birthday boy, birthday girl receives the gifts. But Krishna is so generous that on the day of his birthday, at least today, when everyone knows he's born, he's giving us further gifts. One of them being someone like Srila Prabhupada. So, so today we're celebrating, I think, it's 129 years since Srila Prabhupada was born. That happened in 1896. Who knows what we were doing at that time, each of us. He was originally born on September 1st, but according to lunar calendar, today is August 17th. He was born in Kolkata. I had the fortune of being at his birthplace. There is a jackfruit tree. I need to say that he was born under that jackfruit tree, actually. So recently they constructed some type of memorial around that place. It becomes a holy place of pilgrimage among the very interesting dynamics of the city, like Kolkata. But we were on Kolkata Parikrama, I remember a few years ago, going to Prabhupada's birthplace and the Radha Govinda temple that he will go as a child to worship on a daily basis. The house where he lived next to Srila Sridhar Maharaj for many years. They were neighbors, living next to each other for many years, and each one writing their own books and sharing programs together. So beautiful, beautiful place. So today the inspiration came, if you give me permission, with or without your permission, actually, to try to explore a little bit the person we are trying to celebrate today, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this case, through the lenses of one of his Pranama-mantras, which is the one that I recited in the Mangalacharan now, which is a slightly different than the one that most of us may know. It's a little longer, double longer. But I think it's in general in a Pranama-mantra, the personality of the person is encapsulated. So you can really get a glimpse of the heart of whatever personality is the object of that pranam mantra, as Krishna Chandra was doing yesterday with Hey Krishna, Karuna, Sindhu, right? And he was taking us sequentially from the broader ocean of compassion to the specificity of his love for Radha and all that happens in between those two, right? So going through each one of those stages were giving us glimpses of the multifaceted personality of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada himself would say Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. That's a very interesting expression, right? Because we're talking about God in his supreme personality. He has a personality, it's multifaceted, and there is a supreme side to that personality. So we'll try to do the same. A pranam mantra is describing in detail the heart, the mood, the contribution, the gifts of that person. So we'll do with this pranam mantra to Srila Prabhupada. So this pranam mantra actually, interestingly, Srila Prabhupada composed his own pranam mantra, the one that you mostly know. No, he made it himself. Interestingly,
because no one
exactly. No, it's not like he was narcissistic or something, right? It's just like there was nobody to do it in the situation he was in the West. It's not like, okay, I will call all my Sanskrit scholar disciples. I mean, not yet. So he composed the pranam mantra, which is a typical general meter and expression, certain things. But actually, in time, Prabhupada knew that there was some slight grammatical irregularity in the part Saraswati Devi, Saraswati Devam. Sometimes it's different. So he asked Srila Bhakti-vedanta Goswami Maharaj, can you please compose a pranam mantra so my disciples can? No, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was known as a Sanskrit scholar. He had many poems and compositions in Sanskrit he wrote, and he was very close to Srila Prabhupada's heart. So Srila Prabhupada was not asking anyone and everyone, just a Sanskrit scholar, to make a pranam mantra from here professionally. But he went to someone who actually knows who he is. So eventually Srila Sridhar Maharaj, for different reasons, was not able to do it. But he asked his disciple and successor, Bhaktisundar Govinda Maharaj, to compose that pranam mantra. He was also a Sanskrit scholar, and he was also very closely associated with Srila Prabhupada. So he composed this pranam mantra that I recited in the Mangala Charan, which is invoked in certain circles, especially those who follow Srila Sridhar Maharaj and some other mats. This is the pranam mantra, which starts similar, but adds some other nuances. It's kind of an expansion of the one most of us know. So it's never going against that one, but just adding ornamentation. I'm playing out the implications of that. So if you allow me, I may go verse by verse. There are 4 verses. I'm sorry I don't have here a whiteboard. Whiteboard, you go with me to show it, but try to visualize it. Sorry?
we would have, but
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I will explain word by word so we can, and if you want later, you want to have it or write it, we can share it, no problem. So the first line says, very similar to the one we know the most, namah visnupadaya, krsna-presthaya bhutale. So far the same. The second line that has slight variation. Swami Sri Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada Ya Te Namaha, which is very similar again. To Nama Vishnu, I offer my humble obeisances to the lotus feet of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, who is very dear to Sri Krishna on earth, Bhutale, interestingly, having taken shelter of his lotus feet. Basically, very similar translation.
Amanda, Kane.
Someone came? So we'll see there are 4 verses. The first 3 kind of mostly concentrate on Prabhupada's personality and his achar and his prachar. And the last one kind of also gives further hints into his eternal identity of service, so to say. So it already here is saying something, Krishna Presthaya. very dear to Krishna. We'll say more later. So again, it begins with a classical structure in a Mangala, in a Pranama-mantra, namah visnupadaya. You are situated at the feet of the Lord, which indicates surrender. You are taking shelter on the holy feet of our master, our guardian, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Srila Sridhar Maharaj will refer to this famous verse from the Rig Veda, tad Vishnur paramam padam sada pasyanti suraya dirivachakshuratatam tad viprashruvi panjavo jagrivasamindati Vishnu yat paramam padam. So he says, like, sometimes this is used in connection to the sun. He says, like, when we look at the sun, you can think of the lotus feet of Bhagavan, which are always above our head, sheltering us, and we are always under the merciful glance or lotus feet of Bhagavan. So, so this verse says, Srila Prabhupada is very dear to Krishna because he has taken shelter at his lotus feet. So please don't mistake this to say, oh, then only when I take shelter at the feet of Krishna, I become dear to him. Don't think, oh, those who do not take shelter, Krishna doesn't love them. Only when you take shelter in my feet, I love you. That's conditional love. So Krishna loves everyone, but when you take shelter at his lotus feet, you become especially dear to him because he is becoming especially dear to you. So we enter into the game of mutuality and reciprocation. But even when we don't even care about God and say divine does not exist, still Sweet Absolute has unconditional love in every direction. But when we start to reciprocate, that takes the whole relationship to another level. It's like this, the example of the mother with the baby. Maybe the baby at day 3, 4, 5 of his life, he's not aware that there's something called mom. There's some intuitive need and shelter, but it's not like, okay, there's something called mom, I'm his baby, her baby, and this. But the mom is quite aware, my baby. She's loving, nourishing, protecting the baby. And the baby is receiving, but not very aware of there's someone else on the other side. The baby is not even aware of his own existence, probably. So, but when the relationship evolves and the baby becomes a child, a teenager, hopefully he becomes aware there is someone else apart from me. There's someone called mom. This person gave me so much. I feel drawn to reciprocate. So when that happens, the unconditional love of the mother, which was already there, now takes a new shape to reciprocate the love of the child. You follow the point? So the love was there from the beginning, but when reciprocation happens, it takes the whole relationship to another level. So again, when we say Prabhupada is, or whether it's Prabhupada or anyone, you are dear to Krishna because you have taken shelter of him. Doesn't mean those who haven't taken shelter, they're not dear to him. But you become especially dear to him because he became especially dear to you when you are taking shelter of him. And bhutale, no? Bhutale means on earth, on bhumi dimension, here. So Prabhupada describes being dear to Krishna here on earth, which is bringing us here, planet Earth, rounding us a little bit. In our tradition, with transcendence is not something that is beyond this world, it's a state of consciousness. Right? Material world, spiritual world, those are dimensions of perception. It's not a geographical, it's not that comes a mothership that one takes us somewhere else, no? So Srila Prabhupada himself, as we will see, he was an ambassador of Vrindavan in this world. So we will say he was in the spiritual world, though he physically may have been seen and roaming planet Earth, so to say. Famous example, when he was in Vrindavan before leaving for the West, and he went to Vrindavan in his 50s or early 60s. I don't recall the exact year, but he was there for many years. And of course, leaving at 69, when most people go to Vrindavan to basically pass, he was leaving Vrindavan. So many people were like, why you are leaving Vrindavan? So we will say those who think that he was leaving Vrindavan were not living in Vrindavan, because they couldn't see that he was not leaving Vrindavan, but extending Vrindavan outside of the geographical earthly Vrindavan. You follow? So Vrindavan is a state of consciousness. It's not where your body is geographically located. So you can go to geographical Vrindavan on earth, and there is prostitution and drug dealing and crazy stuff. How much you can call that being a Brajavasi or something, right? So anyhow, that's another conversation. So Namam Visnupadaya Krishna-presthaya. Visnupadaya, why this verse say Vishnu? Vishnu, for many of us, it's not the name of Krishna, but in our tradition, we will say all the names of the divine are first and foremost names of Krishna, and then apply to other forms of God or other personalities, like Shiva. We'll say Shiva first is the name of Krishna, which means the auspicious one. That's why the Nama-parat that we read, actually originally are in the text that is about Shiva Nama-parat. So we'll take over. Those apply to Krishna, who is the ultimate Shiva, the ultimate auspicious one. So Vishnu, we will say Vishnu is God in Vaikuntha, 4 arms, Aishwarya. But no, Vishnu means the all-pervading one. And that's what Krishna shows in the Rasa Lila when he expands with each gopi on each side. And that's how the Rasa Lila finishes, right? The last verse of the Rasa Lila, the false Shruti, Vikriditam Brajavaduviridam cha. No, I didn't say that. Krishna Chandra said that, so that must be legal. Vikriditam Brajavaduviridam cha Vishnu. So Sukadev Goswami is praising, reflecting on the Rasa Lila, and he refers to the circular dance that Vishnu performed. So he refers to Krishna as Vishnu, indicating the all-pervading, he who expands to reciprocate perfectly with the love of his devotees. So Vishnu means Krishna. So when we say Prabhupada is at the feet of Vishnu, doesn't mean that he has been suddenly sent to Vaikuntha and is worshipping Narayan in all reverence or something, but it's another name of Krishna. And again, having taken shelter at his lotus feet, Sri Guru is always in the mood of a servant, basically, ultimately. When we speak about Guru, we are speaking about servant. Everyone is servant at the end of the day. I like to say, Guru is just someone rendering service from a different seat, from a different position. Even if you are giving a higher seat to your Guru, still is to perform seva from that seat. It's not just, oh, the seat is for me. Thank you so much. No, it's not for you. Like sometimes you have what we call Vyasa-san in our tradition, which is higher seat, higher raised platform when someone sits to speak the Bhagavatam, for example. Sometimes the devotees may say, oh, no, I don't want that seat for me. But who say that it's for you? It's for the Bhagavatam. And you are supposed to be just an instrument, the channel, the carrier, the messenger, but the whole thing is not about you. So please have that clear and sit there, because it's not about you. Right. So again, it can feel like humility, but it's false humility, right? Like, oh no, it's too much for me. That's it. Oh, how humble? No, it's not humble, because it's not for you to sit, right? And you will be sitting on a high raised platform if you have the heart in the proper place. This is not about me. It's about being a humble servant of the divine current. So Guru is, again, is a service, basically. To act as a teacher, to act as a preceptor, as a mentor, is seva. Everything is seva at the end of the day. As the disciple is serving the Guru is serving the disciple in different ways, but it's mutual reciprocity of service. Both are serving one another. And both will add our learning from one another. There's one interesting letter that, let's see if I have it here. That's very interesting. that Srila Prabhupada wrote. Oh yeah, here it is. Srila Prabhupada writes to one of his disciples in this connection, how the guru and the disciple are loving one another, serving one another, learning from one another. And here we have another dimension, depending on one another. Srila Prabhupada writes to one of his disciples, you cannot survive without my mercy, and I cannot survive without your mercy. It is reciprocal. This mutual dependence is based on love. It makes sense. Krishna will say the same to his devotees, like the prayers that Patrak read yesterday from bhagavata-madhurya-gita. Or if you are not informed that those words are being spoken by Krishna, you think that's a devotee talking to Krishna. And then you realize, oh no, that was Krishna talking to his devotee, saying, I was eager for your mercy, and I was looking for that, and give me your mercy. Oh, that's the devotee talking to Krishna. No, that was Krishna talking to his devotee. So at one point, the interaction, the mutuality becomes such that you no longer know who is whom. Who is God, who is the servant, who is the master, because the prayers will be used in both directions, basically. So that's a very sweet, intimate interaction of service. That's why Rupa Goswami says, Vishrambena Guru Seva. Ideally, the connection with Sri Guru should evolve into one of very deep, sweet, intimate friendship and confidence. Still, Guru is Guru, disciple is disciple, but there has to be some form of deep melting of the two hearts becoming one. Right? So anyhow, all that to say that that's the mood of a guru, and Prabhupada had that mood, as we just seen in this quote. He says to his disciple, I depend on your mercy. Wow, imagine. Incredible. I cannot imagine how that disciple felt reading that. Imagine your guru telling you, I depend on your mercy. So deep humility. And again, the guru is a servant of the disciple's shraddha. The guru is a servant of the faith of the disciple. The guru is not the owner of the disciple. The guru never feels, I am your master, you are my slave, you belong to me, you do what I want. No. The guru is serving the faith of the disciple, trying to, as we quoted Srila Maharaj the other day, the guru is your own potential appearing in front of you. So guru comes, sees your potential, and starts to serve your potential, facilitator of potential, trying to help, assist the student into extracting all that you can be. Now, this guru is a servant in excavating the potential of the disciple. And the guru does that as a service to the faith, to the heart of the disciple. That's how it should be. It's not like a position, or I want to be guru for obtaining. That has nothing to do with it. There is a nice verse that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Adi Lila, that interestingly says that the love of Krishna has this unique effect. I have it here because I don't. Yes, thank you, Krishna. Krishna Premer Eka Apurva Prabhav. Guru Sama Lagu Ke Karaya Dasya Bhav. I don't know it by heart, but now it's my duty to do it. Love for Krishna has this unique effect. It imbues superiors, equals, and inferiors with the spirit of service. Dasya Bhav. So that's the nature of divine love. Everyone feels, I'm a servant here. No? Whether it's Guru, Sama, Lagu, no? Elder, equal, junior, all of them are, we are all servants here. No? There are no more hierarchies in one sense. We're all servants of the same center, basically.
Could you repeat that, please? The nature of divine love. Could you repeat it?
Repeat the translation of the verse.
Said The nature of divine love, what was it?
That the nature of divine love is that, I mean, I cannot recall, just in case it's recorded, but the nature of divine love is that it makes everyone a servant. Like everyone feels a servant of that common center, which is divine love. Whether
If
you're
a guru,
yeah,
superior, if you're someone on the same level,
yeah,
or externally seen as lagu, as Leichtgewicht, some lighter, you know. Yeah. Actually, all these positions are dissolved because Koredas about everyone has
Yeah.
one aim,
yeah,
completely to be served.
yeah. Pratishta Sukarabhishta, and then he would say Vaishnava Pratishta Tate Karunyashta, Bhaktivedanta Swami also, you know, like you want Pratishta, you want fixity position in something, be situated as a servant of love. That's the ultimate position we all want to attain, the only sustainable one. So yeah, we are all in the same work together. Basically, that's the idea. Teamwork. We are all trying to serve love. Some will be elders, some will be newcomers arriving day 1, day 2, 3 decades after, eternal liberated, whatever the case. We are all in the same project, right? We're all trying to serve love, love's necessities. As we were talking 2 days ago, the nature of love is that it's always creating new thirst, new eagerness, and new necessities to be honored and served. So we are all, that necessity is so serious that we need to be very much aligned and connected so we can properly render seva to those necessities. Anyhow, that's the first verse of Prabhupada's Pranama-mantra. Don't forget we are talking about that. We go a little bit out of the branches, but it's all branches of the same tree, right? So namah visnupadaya, krsna-presthaya, bhutale, Swami Sri Bhaktivedanta Prabupadaya, te namah. Let's go to the second one. There are 4. Gurvajnam sirasi-dhrtva, saktyavesa sva-rupine, hare-krsneti mantrena, pascatya-pracya-tarine. Huh, that's interesting. So, Gurvajnam means taking the order of your guru, Gurvajnam, sirasi-dhrtva, taking that, putting that order on top of your head. Not like taking that order of Bhaktisiddhanta, we will say in a minute what's that order. Saktyavesa sva-rupine. You became Saktyavesa, empowered agent of divine grace. More specifically, as we will say, or as Srila Maharaj said, empowered by Nityananda Prabhu. So taking the order of his guru on his head, Srila Prabhupada became an empowered agent of Nityananda Prabhu, acting as a Saktyavesa avatar. Hare-krsneti mantrena pascatya-pracya-tarine. He distributed the Hare Krishna mantra all over the Western and Eastern world, delivering and uplifting all souls. So yeah, there are some interesting elements here. So the verse starts saying Gurvajnam. So Ajna means like here, like order. And it is said or told that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta-Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's guru, at one point, and Prabhupada himself says like that, he ordered me to preach in English. So it's interesting because if you study his life and what actually took place between them, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta never ordered him, but he shared a suggestion. You speak English, it may be good if you spread the message of Sriman Mahaprabhu in English. But it was not like, I order you to do that. But Prabhupada heard that as an order. In other words, a mere suggestion became his life mission. He was so eager to please his guru that he didn't need his guru to tell you, I order you this as a life mission. Just a mere suggestion was enough. No, that's when someone is seriously eager to please one's master, just a mere suggestion is enough. Like Krishna Chandra was saying yesterday, when Krishna was sitting at the feet of Sri Radha, trying to decorate her feet, and was a little bit trembling. The design was a little bit, and Sri Radha just with a mere silent glance gave all the necessary instructions to her maidservants in order what to do. So we could say, in one sense, in Radha's glass was everything, but also we will say the servant was so capable of understanding that everything and doing it accordingly, right? So it's both parts. So in this case, we can make a parallel with the same thing. Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta gave that silent glance suggestion, and the eager Kripa-kataksha, silent glance mercy instruction or suggestion, and Prabhupada like a very capable, eager servant. That suggestion was enough. No. But for him, it translated as an order. No. Life, mission. So serious, so committed. So this is plain in scriptures, no? You have these different types of servants. No? You have the servant in which the guru or the teacher just doesn't need to say something, and the student is so in tune that the student even will anticipate what the guru will say. Now, the guru is saying something, and before the sentence finishes, the student knows where it will go, because there is so much like attunement. Or again, some suggestion is a life mission. No? In other cases, the guru needs to tell the disciple, do this, please. I'm giving you this instruction, or make it more clear, okay? Because if that's not happened, the disciple says, no, he never told me to do that. And then you have the other disciple, if we can call them disciples, which is even when the guru tells you this, you don't do it. You will always find some excuse. And there are different types of those. Sometimes they give like 6 definitions, like the astrologer who says, oh, I will wait for all the stars to be properly aligned, so before I fulfill that instruction, and they will never do it. Like the arrow, like you throw an arrow, the disciple, yes, Gurudev, I'm going like an arrow, and then he disappears and never returns. Things like that. No? It's a little bit like tragic comical examples. So anyhow, a good servant doesn't need to be told what to do. That's basically the point. No? It's already aligned with the frequency of service, and basically everything is service. That's the famous, only famous for me, because I mean famous for you because I told that so many times. Once one devout disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj asked him, Gurudev, can you give me some service? No? Again, he needed his guru to tell him, do this. Okay, so let's not say. His reply was, change your angle of vision. That's it. That's it. That was the service. Change your angle of vision. You want some service, change your angle of vision. When you change your angle of vision, there will be a point when we realize everything is a service opportunity. So you don't need to ask service. The fact that you are asking for service means you are not doing service. You are not living a life of that, which is okay, not to make anyone feel bad about it, but just to make the point that there is a point in which whatever you do from morning to night, even when you are going to bed, is service, even sleeping. Anyhow, all that in the context of the word gurvajnam, right? He received the order of his guru and put it on his head. It was a suggestion, and that was enough for all that came as a result of that to happen. Guru Bhagnan sirasi-dhrtva saktyavesa sva-rupine. Srila Prabhupada described as a saktyavesa avatar. The Bhagavata, and this is described like it's a particular descent of God's Shakti or energy and empowerment, and one particular jiva becomes extraordinarily invaded by a certain power to do something that otherwise will be seen as basically impossible. I remember when I first read Srila Prabhupada's biography, that was like 26 years ago. And I couldn't believe that. First, I mean, I believed it because there is enough evidence he's a historical figure and that happened. But in the beginning, it sounded like this. It's like a miraculous story. How this is possible? All the things that happened. It's true. So that was such a boost to my faith. And then you came to know, okay, he was saktyavesa sva-rupine. Once Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj, he asked Srila Maharaj, because Srila Maharaj was the one who said Srila Prabhupada is the saktyavesa avatar. No? Nowadays, it's very common to say, oh, Prabhupada is saktyavesa avatar, but who say that originally? No? So Srila Maharaj said that. And Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj asked him once, which type of abyss? No? Very interesting question. Which type of empowerment he received? Because you can be empowered, no, from so many different directions. Jnana Shakti abyss, Bhakti Shakti, and anyhow, Bhagavatam gives different examples. And Srila Maharaj replied, Nityananda abyss. So he's especially empowered by Nityananda Prabhu. And if you study the nature of the campaign of Nityananda Prabhu, that's very much resembles that of Srila Prabhupada. No? Nityananda Prabhu was the very first one who started the spreading of the news of the gospel of Sri Chaitanya, so to say. And he went with his Dwadasa Gopal, with his close associate, door to door, knocking. They will open the door, and Nityananda was crying in ecstasy, offering himself to whomever will sing the name of Gauranga. That's how the movement started to spread, no? By a divine madman. And his, yeah, of course. That's how it happens. That's how the epidemic started. And he especially became very inclined to those in the lowest section of society. No, even during Mahaprabhu's life, Mahaprabhu sent him to certain parts, and he felt very inclined to give his grace to those who deserve it the least. Right? That's what grace is all about at the end of the day. Now, help me when I deserve it the least. That's when I need it the most. That's how the phrase goes. Help me when I deserve it the least. That's when I will be needing it the most, actually. So he did that. He followed example, and Srila Prabhupada went to the US and started with the outcast of society, basically, in one sense. And in a part in the US, I also had the fortune of going there almost every year to the well-known Hare-Krishna tree, where Prabhupada sat on the Tompkins Square Park and started singing. The tree is still there. No? So I'm there in front of that tree, and I'm like looking at the tree, and who are you? No? Right? Who must be this personality? Because so special. I've seen videos of Bhakti Ballabh Maharaj going there and falling in Dandavat at the feet of the tree and crying deeply. Narayan Maharaj also. Great personalities who had the chance, because that's kind of a yoga pit. Like that's kind of a very special beginning place for so many things that unfolded after that, right? And I remember being in Tompkins Square Park, and still Tompkins Square Park is like it was at 60 years ago, filled with homeless people, drug addicts, still now, same standard. And it was so interesting. I was walking there because many of them are accustomed to seeing us guys going there, circumambulating the tree. You generally don't see people doing this around the tree, no? And what to speak every day, many people doing that for half an hour, like 1 hour. So the people living there know already. And one day I remember there was one person who was homeless. He was sleeping on the bench in the park, and he saw me. I was with my robes and offering dandavat to the tree and all that, and he calls me. And he says, I met Swami Prabhupada like 60-something years ago. He started to speak with lots of emotion and feeling and appreciation. He was a homeless person at that time. He remained homeless person till now. But at the same time, he was very, you could see his person was very touched. No? So this type of experiences you can have being there. So some way in which we can say how Srila Prabhupada was empowered by Nityananda Prabhu. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj had it that this empowerment especially descended upon Prabhupada when he was on the Jaladuta. When he was crossing the ocean, he took this cargo ship and he was having heart attacks in the midst of the journey. Again, it was not a first-class plane that arrived to the US in a few hours. It was weeks of travel. He had a few heart attacks on the ship. He didn't know if he will survive the whole trip. And he composed at one point one prayer called Prayer at the Lotus Feet of Krishna. We need another retreat to explain only that prayer, which is very beautiful. As he prays like a Priyanarma Saka, he starts to give his hint of what I will consider that's his eternal bhav and talk to Krishna as a friend, saying, Krishna, I know that you want to obtain the grace of Sri Radha. So since you want to obtain the grace of Sri Radha, my Gurudev, who is close to Radha, asked me to come to the West. And so for me to please him and be successful in his mission, I mean, that's a big task. So I need your empowerment. So if you give me your empowerment, I will be successful. My Gurudev will be pleased. And he is close to Radha. Radha will be pleased. And that's in your interest. That's how Prabhupada wrote the poem. Krishna tava punya have pai. That's how he starts. Krishna, if you want to increase your punya, your piety, you should do this to obtain Radha's favor. And Krishna was like, oh my God, this guy knows me so well. And Krishna gave lots of empowerment. You can see. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj will say at that moment when Prabhupada wrote that historical prayer in the Jaladuta, Krishna empowered him especially from this place, Nityananda Vesh, to reach anyone and everyone indiscriminately. That's such a crucial moment. I personally think that should be included in our Vaishnav calendar to celebrate the day that Prabhupada wrote that prayer. We know which day is. There is the diary of Prabhupada in the Jaladuta with his own handwriting and the dates he did every entry.
What date was it?
I don't remember now, but we can find that. But it was around this time actually, because he celebrated Janmashtami on the Jaladuta. So it's very much around these days. Because in one way that day marks our birth, in one sense, because that invoked a certain empowerment, we invoked certain campaign, and again, we are here as a byproduct of that. As we spoke yesterday, right, on Janmashtami and the consequences of Krishna's birth. So many things happen, remember? Eventually, the interaction of love between him and the Brajavasis, his death, Gaur Lila as a result of that, Mahaprabhu's overflowing campaign, we as a result of that. So we have our devotional birth in connection to Krishna's birth. We could say also we have our devotional birth in connection to this moment in which Prabhupada is writing this prayer in the midst of the ocean. So I think that's a very sacred day for many of us. Whether we know or consciously or unconsciously, we may know or not about all the details of Srila Prabhupada, but that wave is undeniable. We are the, someone told once, we are the result of the grace of our well-wishers. Who are you? I'm the result of the mercy of my well-wishers. The grace of all my guardians make me who I am. We are a byproduct of grace, basically. That's our adhikar. Adhikar is not just my personal effort. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Naudi Bhavataranga, your adhikar is based on kripa. The more kripa you receive, the more adhikar you have, the more eligibility, the more mercy. So, gurvajnam sirasi-dhrtva saktyavesa sva-rupine hare-krsneti mantrena pascatya-pracya-tarine. So, because of so sincerely taking this mere suggestion of his guru, he became that empowered by Nityananda Prabhu especially, and the result of that, hare-krsneti mantrena pascatya-pracya-tarine. The name, the Nam, Sri Nam. Again, Nityananda Prabhu was Damayanti asking the other day with the song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur about the Namahata. Nityananda Prabhu opened this marketplace of the holy name and distributed it very widely. So Prabhupada, empowered by Nityananda Prabhu, distributed Harinam north, south, east, west, every possible direction. And pascatya-pracya-tarine. That this line adds something, because in the original it's pascatya-desha-tarine. Now he delivered the people in the western land. So this verse says pascatya-pracya-tarine. He delivered both west and east. Right? It was not only about going out from India and helping all of us over here, also going back to India and helping them over there and everywhere else, right? But in connection to the West, it's very interesting because, as you may know, Srila Prabhupada was born on year 1896. And that's the same year that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote his book, Sri Chaitanya, His Life and Precepts, and sent that book to the West, to McGill University in Canada. Do I need to repeat something? I'm going too fast, probably. A little bit, yeah. Yes, tell me. Sorry. So in the same year that Prabhupada was born, 1896, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent to the West his book, Sri Chaitanya, His Life and Teachings, to a university in Canada called McGill University. So that was kind of one of the first. I mean, there are previous references, but in our particular Bhaktivinoda Parivar, that was his first interaction with the West from the East, so to say, in terms of Gaudiya Vaishnavism in our line. And that was the same year that Prabhupada was born. And it's interesting because eventually, when Srila Prabhupada published his own book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and I have here what he mentioned, he says, he wrote a dedication to Bhaktivinoda Thakur in that book, in connection to this particular thing that happened on the year that he was born. So again, try to see the connection, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur is sending this, and in some way Prabhupada is one of the main agents that transplanted this seed from east to west. So Prabhupada say, dedicated to the sacred service of Srila Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who initiated the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in the Western world. And he puts McGill University, Canada, in 1896, the year of my birth. That's how Prabhupada writes in his teachings of Lord Chaitanya, creating this connection. A few years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine. He was in Godrum, I think, somewhere in Navadvip. And yeah, I think he was in Godrum, and they were talking about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Godrum is very connected to Bhaktivinoda Thakur in our tradition. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, again, he had very interesting prophecies mentioning how people from all parts of the world will be singing Jai Sachinandan and things like that. And this friend of mine was there, and suddenly a group of, not literally pilgrims, but people that you could see they are not strictly Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but they are coming to know about the tradition. So he's curious, because generally you don't have like newcomers into Godrum, so to say, from the West. So my friend went, they were speaking about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and all, he asked them, so where are you coming from? He said, we are students from McGill University in Canada. Yeah. And we read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book that was sent to the university, and somehow, for my friend, I was like, he almost implodes, like I would say, yes. So that was too much, right? So again, but this verse tries to make it clear it's not only about the West, but also the East. Everyone is, as we say, Prabhupada left Vrindavan to establish Vrindavan everywhere else. This year, I had the fortune of visiting one of his communities, one of the main ones in the United States, called New Vrindavan. So he will make this type of point. This is also Vrindavan. Okay. We've gone just half of the verses. Shall we continue? Yeah. We have eternity on our side. But some of you are falling asleep. Yes. I'm seeing you. It's okay. I will shout, I will clap, I will get. Can I resort to this method if I need? Yeah. Yeah. We signed the agreement. Okay. Not to intimidate anyone. Right? Some holy. We can do some holy color. Okay. So verse number 3. So I hope all this gives you a glimpse of how a Pranama-mantra can say so much about the person. But sometimes we need to stop and unpack what the implications of that, because if not, we just recite it and what's in between the lines. So the third verse says, Visvacarya prabaryaya divya karunya murtaye Sri bhagavata-madhurya-gita-jnana. So there are some expressions here which resemble what has been said before from other place. Visvacarya prabaryaya. He's the best of millions of Jagat Gurus. Beautiful. Again, this is written not by a disciple of him, but by Bhakti Sundar Govinda. So here we don't have like a fanatical Kanishta Bhakta. My Guru is the best of everyone, and not no one. But someone who genuinely can see that and will write something thinking, oh, his disciples will recite that, so their faith will be nourished. They can express their hearts in this way. So he's the best of millions of Jagat Gurus. Visvacarya prabaryaya. Why? Divya karunya murtaye. He's the murti, the embodiment, the personification of divya karunya, of divine mercy. Yesterday we talked about divya karma and divya janma. Now we have divya karunya.
Also, in Bhaktisiddhanta's karuna-murtaye, it's like the embodiment.
Yeah, and of course, Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj is quite aware of that Pranama-mantra, so I'm sure that he's making some thread there. And then Sri bhagavata-madhurya-gita-jnana So pradayine means, dayine means to give, pradayine means to give very fully, very generously, very widely, very deeply. Pradayine. What? Sri bhagavata-madhurya, the sweetness of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Gita-jnana, the knowledge of the Gita, which properly understood culminates in the sweetness of the Bhagavatam. So Visvacarya prabaryaya. Let's go part by part. I just gave you the general meaning. Visvacarya, like universal teacher, basically. Prabaryaya, the best of them all. So again, it's a way of saying he has spread the glories of Mahaprabhu everywhere. He's the best of all teachers, not only because of that, but also because Srila Prabhupada was a very special, unique lover of Krishna. No, not just because he distributed the knowledge, but internally, he has a very unique heart, loving disposition for Krishna. In one sense, there are many gurus, and I don't want to say some gurus are ordinary, some gurus are more extraordinary. We don't want to enter into any type of competition game or bad, better, worse hierarchy. But there is a place to say, especially, okay, this personality is extraordinary, among other extraordinary personalities. Because of, again, his melted heart for Krishna, which from that place, everything else follows, actually. No? Because sometimes we may praise someone like Srila Prabhupada because of his quote-unquote external achievements in numbers, but we should not lose sight from where is all that coming. What's he? You have to scratch the surface and see what's the flame in his heart that, again, created such a descent, downpour of mercy. That's why I like to say when sometimes with some people I speak about ISKCON, which is the name of the society that Prabhupada established. And someone asks, what's ISKCON like? So ISKCON is Prabhupada's melted heart. No? Eventually that took the form of an institution and rules and names and stuff. But ISKCON is his Prabhupada's melted heart. Again, Jaladuta, praying to Krishna, opening in full vulnerability, lovingly. And everything else is a byproduct of that, including us. Divya karunya murtaye. Again, this is a very beautiful expression. Murti is sometimes the name for a deity. You know? It's a form, a deity. He's a divya, the deity of divine mercy, divine grace. Another way of saying saktyavesa sva-rupine, what we say in the previous verse. He's the personified form of empowerment by Nityananda Prabhu. He's the embodiment of the kripa of Srinithai. And as we all see, Prabhupada's affinity for Sakya Rasa puts him very close to Nityananda Prabhu. Gaura-Nitai, he's told Gaura-Nitai everywhere, which is not that usual in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, so that clearly shows some affinity. His central altar in Vrindavan is Krishna Balaram. That's not coincidence. Anyhow, that's another conversation probably. But he showed very deep compassion, extreme willingness to help others in ways that are beyond our imagination. And we have many examples of that in our tradition. Recently, I'm finishing writing my next book, which will be about unconditional love, and there's a section about the sadhus and the nature of the sadhus, which can resemble what in Buddhism is called bodhisattva, right? Bodhisattva is someone who commits to remain in this world helping everyone, and not so much interested in their own liberation, so to say. And there are so many verses in the Bhagavatam about that also. Let me share 3 with you. I have them here. One by Prahlad Maharaj. He says, my dear Lord, he's praying to Nrsimhadev. You may know at which moment this is happening. I see that many saintly persons seek only their own deliverance. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving behind all these suffering souls. Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Then Prahlad Maharaj in Gaur Lila comes now, Vasudev Datta. So no surprise that he will say basically the same, because it's the same person appearing in another Lila. So Vasudev Datta says, when I witness the suffering of living beings, my heart is torn. Therefore, I humbly ask you, he's asking Mahaprabhu, to transfer the sins of all creatures onto me.
Not just the human beings.
All creatures, just in case.
And from whole universe. Not just from the earth.
Let me endure eternal suffering, accepting the karmic reactions of all the universe. Kindly free them from this entangling material existence. So you cannot say that without walking your talk, as they say in English. There was not just nice words to gain Mahaprabhu's favor and then you run away when, okay, let's, he was willing. He was. And in the Bhagavatam, we have one more example, beautiful example from Rantidev. One more example, Rantidev. He says, I do not pray for mystic perfections of yoga, nor for liberation from birth and death. I desire only to remain among all beings, taking on their suffering as my own, so that they may be freed from all distress. And Krishna the Gita says similar. The yogi sees other people's suffering as their own. Empathy, connection. So Prabhupada was divya karunya murtaya. He was the embodiment of such divine compassion. Siva Manjari, you were raising your hand.
Sorry, but das war jetzt ein toller Vers, auch ein Übersetzen. Ich habe nämlich kürzlich auch im Chaitanya Charitamrita, glaube ich, gelesen, ich weiß nicht, ob das diese Stelle war, dass mein großer Devotee genau das gesagt hat.
I just read these statements about Vasudev-datta and Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Mhm.
I think it was that. Und dann ging es ihm darum, er würde alle Leiden auch auf sich nehmen für die anderen, damit die zu Gott kommen. Oder
That I'm ready to accept all suffering of all others, that they may continue their path.
Und das fand ich ganz spannend und ganz wesentlich und essentiell. Es stand dann auch drin, aber Krishna hätte nie das Interesse, dass dieser große Devotee das Leid auf sich nimmt. Und das fand ich so spannend, ne? Das würde er niemals wollen.
But it's also mentioned that Krishna doesn't want ever that such a great intimate devotee will have to suffer for it. There's nothing, no suffering involved really.
Und ich denke, das ist auch ganz wichtig im Kontext von uns, also wenn wir Bhakti praktizieren, dass wir nicht in dem Sinne das Leid auf uns nehmen würden, weil Krishna würde das gar nicht wollen. Ne?
It's not that we have, to increase our suffering.
No, of course. Yeah, you don't need to, suffering will come by itself. You don't need to increase the suffering, right? Like when we speak about tolerance, it's not like, okay, I have to create extra difficult situations to tolerate. No, you will have to tolerate things without creating anything. And that's the dose, that's the quota. No, don't try to. Yeah, but the whole verse, the idea is he was willing to. No, he was serious about that. He was not joking. So that point is, compassion can reach a point that you are willing to do that, which is like, not to imitate probably, but it's still to be deeply inspired, right? And sorry? Yeah, if it's connected with the topics, because so we don't, yeah.
So, if someone takes the karmic reactions from other beings, is that not necessary that suffering to evolve, to grow, to make that process by yourself? Can someone change?
Yeah. In one sense, you cannot take the sufferings of other beings, because in one sense that will be to cancel other people's free will. Because my suffering is the consequence of my actions. For that, I need agency, free will. And that's one of the intrinsic qualities of the Atma. Jiva Goswami mentions 21 qualities in the Paramatma Sandarbha. One is krsna-presthaya. You have agency. So agency means you act, that creates some consequences, and you have to endure yours, not as chastisement, but as learning. So if someone can take all that, will be to take the extension of your agency in the form of the consequences of your actions, and will cancel your free will. And that can't happen. A jiva cannot stop having free will. A jiva without agency is no longer a jiva, basically. No? So it's more a way of, again, he say that it's not that it happened, but it was a way of expressing his willingness to, his compassion. It's an ecstatic expression of compassion, basically. And of course, we will say with such a compassionate people on earth, for sure, we are receiving some type of relief, but that doesn't mean, oh, now Vasudev has taken my karmic reaction, so I don't need to concern. I can do whatever I want. He will stay here to pay. No, it's not like that. Krishna das.
Yeah, so
Connected to the topic. Okay, and then we'll return, because if not, we will we have one more line.
Prabhupada also, many times he mentioned in that connection, like the suffering of Jesus Christ. Because in the Western world, the people think, oh, Jesus Christ suffered for our sins, so therefore we can do all nonsense.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. It's But still, at the same time, he said it is true that the guru, when he suffers, that it is actually because he takes the karmic reaction of his disciple.
That's something that, in my opinion, has to be understood in a nuanced way.
Shed some light on that.
There's a light. I mean, basically, I would say a few things, but it's a whole conversation. But when we say the guru takes the karma of the disciple, a few things. One is, okay, a disciple is coming with their own baggage. So to enter into a relationship with someone else's baggage is in one way to carry that baggage oneself on some part. Not entirely, but if you get married with someone, still the other person has their own karma, but their karma becomes your part of your life also, right? So something to that effect, no? Because if not, of course, another way of saying it, if the guru is, and there are degrees of gurus, of course, but if a guru is a very high, powerful personality, we will say that person can coexist with the karma of the disciple and somehow take that, work on that, purify that spirit without being affected. It's not like now the guru's karmic debt becomes increased by the more disciples the guru has, the more karma the guru has. That makes no sense. So in which sense is taking the karma? Again, it's receiving us with our karmic baggage and starting the alchemical process of transforming us into an edible offering for the pleasure of Bhagavan, so to say. Right? But again, it depends in times of the capacity of the guru also, because if guru is not so advanced, you can get involved with certain dynamics of the relationship that can also affect the guru. No? And also that's why the guru should be careful of not getting too involved with certain departments of the relationship with, as we were talking the other day, you know, like marriage and business and where to live and where to work and how. And sometimes the guru ends up being a marriage counselor and a romantic advisor, and some problems can come from that. They have come.
I asked Narayan Maharaj, are you suffering? He said, never. You know, he had thousands of disciples. And because it's interesting, this is a very deep Christian thing. The glorification, I have to suffer, and Jesus suffered for you. Come on. The main topic of a guru is not the karmic involvement, it's divya gyan, you know, to give transcendental knowledge, to give you a sambandha with Radha and Krishna. And when this is happening, what is the question of karma? It's completely irrelevant at that moment. And of course, it may be, I see the prarabdha karma is not changed. That karma that you got by the birth, it's not that your nose form is changing by chanting Mahamantra or getting diksha.
More aesthetic and
yes,
like plastic surgery by chanting.
This means the prarabdha karma. This means also in the prarabdha karma is also the amount of suffering, sickness, and failure, and all that. And this is beat it, because otherwise you still think the whole bhakti process means to make a ameliorant. It should be a betterment of some circumstance. Come on, it can be exact the same. But in that, you can go on the bhakti path. It's not obstructed. So this is the prarabdha karma is not changed. What might be on an invisible level, the sanjita karma, the whole amount of potential karmic reactions which will be enough for thousands of lifetimes. This is taken away, but this is by the practice of bhakti. It's the practice of bhakti gives you the complete freedom that you don't have to, oh, I still have a karmic bag for thousands of lifetimes, I'm sorry, I have to suffer it. It gives you complete freedom. So I think too much emphasis is given anyway on the whole level of karma, because this is just a compensation guidance of a divine guidance of Radha and Krishna. And if you go there, it has not much relevance anymore, the whole karmic thing.
Yeah, that's why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur will say things like a devotee has no more karma. Like it's like, what? Yeah, the whole karma talk is, but again, he's taking for granted, he's implying if you're honestly dedicated to the path, right? Like when we say, okay, guru takes the karma of the disciple, again, for a moment, what's a disciple? No. I mean, it's not just, oh, Gurudev, you are so merciful, you do all this. No, you have to do your part. Because sometimes we over glorify the Guru in order to avoid doing our part as disciples. Right? And it's a 50-50 work. Now you can have the topmost Mahabhagavat on earth, but you have to do your part as a student. If you are not open and surrendered, how much you can call yourself a disciple, right? So yeah, that's also proportional. What Krishna is saying, yeah, bhakti will be effective as much as we give ourselves to bhakti. But I become a bhakta or disciple in name only. Bhaktivinoda Thakur called that forms of hypocrisy and kalichela and this and that and dharma, what was the Dharmadvaji and so and so. But yeah, if you sincerely give yourself to bhakti, you should not be even thinking about karma. It's on another type of, other level of transaction. Right? And I will add, if the guru doesn't suffer in an ordinary way, but also the guru may suffer in terms of compassion, but that's not suffering in one sense, that's love. No. There is a type of suffering compassion, but actually it's an expansion of the heart, right? Because there is compassion. We are saying Prabhupada is divya karunya murtaye, which means compassion means to suffer with, but again, in a way that makes your heart expand.
And it's not about the karmic situation.
Exactly.
Oh.
But we were saying yesterday, Krishna is karuna sindhu. He's an ocean of mercy. That means there is compassion in his heart. He suffers in a context that his love increases. Because we can suffer in a way that our love decreases. That's the thing we are not talking about here. Okay, go back to the Pranama-mantra, Srila Prabhupada.
Just the verse
We are not going back to the Pranama-mantra.
No, you can.
I'm joking.
The verse from Rantidev, you quoted,
Mm.
is going back because this attitude is just before the 10th canto.
Mm-hmm.
And many acharyas, they write, this attitude is even needed in our heart to be able to understand the 10th canto.
Mm-hmm. What Rantidev, the verse that I quoted before, he's willing to stay with all beings for the suffering, like implying, okay, our goal is 10th canto, but all that is shown before that should be happening in our hearts at one part of our journey. No? So, yeah. So, yeah, Srila Prabhupada Divya Karunya Murtaye. There is another famous prayer he wrote, Markine Bhagavat Dharma. We cannot go there now, but he wrote this one not in midst of the ocean, but when the ship arrived to the US in Boston, and he just had a glimpse of the Western world for a few minutes. And he wrote a whole song about, oh my gosh, where I am, right? So to say, this is another planet. They are living very particular life here, and I'm coming with the gift of Mahaprabhu. Will this be possible? Krishna, please help me. Please help them. It's a long song. We cannot go there through that now, but it's a beautiful song. What he just says, Krishna, I'm a puppet in your hands. Make me dance as you wish. I'm seeing them living a life so empty, so self-centered, so much suffering. Allow me to give your message and help them. So he's again melting with compassion. And in that poem, he expresses deep faith, as he usually did, in the power of the name. Again, for Prabhupada, this was something so central. He had extreme faith in the Achintya Shakti of Srinam. Let's put it that way. The unconceivable potency of the name of Krishna. He had this faith and, of course, this experience. This sound can make miracles, can create what we think is impossible, can make it possible. That's why he insisted so much on the name of Krishna. He knew. So divya karunya murtaye, Shri bhagavata-madhurya-gita-jnana. Let's go to the second part of the penultimate verse. We have a few more minutes. So Gita Jnana Pradayane, Shri Bhagavata-madhurya. So Prabhupada gave Gita Gyan, the knowledge of the Gita. Yesterday we spoke about Jnana Yoga, chapter 4 of the Gita. But ultimately, Gita Gyan, what's this word in English? Desembocar in Spanish. Those who speak Spanish. Converge. The knowledge of the Gita Gyan converges into the sweetness of the Bhagavatam. And we find in the Gita itself so many hints of that, right?
For example?
For example, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Jnana Paramam Guhyam, many verses, where actually the notion of Gyan or knowledge, what's knowledge? And Krishna speaks about different levels of confidentiality of knowledge. Guhyam, Parama Guhyam, the most confidential, the most confident. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Bhakti is the king of all knowledge. And the Bhagavatam, the Gita conclusion, which is the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita? Let's see who will get an extra portion of halava today. Now everyone becomes a scholar. What's the verse of the Gita that Prabhupada himself will say this is the conclusion? He will ask to many people, which is the conclusion of the Gita? Most people say, oh, I didn't know it had a conclusion. There's one verse. You know, there. Sarva-dharmam parityajam amekam sharanam vraja.
There's also the idam tu te goyatamam shrinume paramam vaja. This is just before.
Yeah.
Actually,
You explained that verse as you did many times with me that I love your explanation. What Krishna is telling to Arjuna.
The most confidential knowledge.
Why? Who is Arjuna for Krishna?
Exactly. So I give you now Shrinume Paramamada. Here clearly, I give you Paramambaja, the highest instruction. Now, just like the conclusion. And every soul in this world, when they advance, they will have Ishtadev. They have a conception of you're my Lord forever, and we have an eternal relationship. You're like my everything. And Krishna is saying, Ishto sime tridhamiti. Hey Arjuna, you are my Ishtadev. So this is
Again, reverse order. No? Like we were saying before. Oh, the prayer from the devotee to Krishna. No, now Krishna is using the same terminology to address his devotee. You are my deity. Sadabo hridayam mayam sadunam hridayam taham. Yeah. So that's the conclusion of the Gita, no? Krishna is basically telling, interestingly, he's telling Arjuna, abandon all religion, which can sound shocking. Abandon religion, do away with all that stuff, and just come to me in Braj. Srila Sridhar will explain the word Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Braja means to come, but through Alankara, poetic ornamentation, you can take the word from what it generally means for most people. For most people, Braja doesn't mean the verb come. Braja means Vrindavan. So come to me in Braj. That's the conclusion of the Gita. And that's how the Bhagavatam starts. Because Gita says Sarva Dharmam Parityaja, the Bhagavatam starts saying Dharma Projito Kaita Votra. Basically the same thing in the second verse. So it picks up where the Gita left. Mamekam Sharanam Braja, yeah, it takes a few cantos to get there, but it's taking us to Braj, the whole Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada gave this knowledge of the Gita, gave the sweetness of the Bhagavatam, and he did a titanic effort to convey that. Again, remember, it was not just downloading a PDF or going to ChatGPT and translating all those books from Hindi to English. He didn't have those resources. So he sweat. There was sweat, tears, and blood in that campaign, basically, right? Not only, as I say, traveling, leaving India, traveling to another planet, literally at that time, at 70 years with basically no money, no contacts, heart attacks in between the ocean. Not an easy time when he arrived to the United States. It's not that it all worked immediately. Was especially first year was so difficult, so cold in New York in winter. So many complications, poverty, indifference, and eventually when things even started to work better, so to say, still so many other problems with having a big group. But so much titanic effort he did to translate the Bhagavatam, for example. Now, if you study his daily schedule, he will wake up at 2 a.m. to start translating, to do his with the recording, actually. How do you call the machine in English? Dictaphone, yeah. Every day, that was part of his son, just sleeping a few hours. And when everyone else was sleeping, he will be awakened by the Bhagavatam, so to say, and pouring his heart. He will say his path and purpose were his devotional ecstasies. So during all those nights, day after day, after week, after month, after year, trying to give us Sri Bhagavata-madhurya, the sweetness of the Bhagavatam, Rasa Shastra. And interestingly, we'll go to the last verse. I'll go there in a minute to what I want to say. Let's go to the last verse. Gaura-sri-rupa-siddhanta-saraswati nisevineradha-krsna-padambhoja-bhrngaya gurave namah. So, Gaura-sri-rupa-siddhanta Saraswati nisevine. Prabhupada is constantly engaged, nisevine, which means constant seva, to Gaura Sri-rupa Siddhanta Saraswati, to his Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, to Sri Rupa Goswami, to Sri Gaur Hari Mahaprabhu. And then from Gaur Lila we go to Krishna, Radha-Krishna-Padambhoja-Bhrngaya Gurave Namaha. He's like a bumblebee, Bhrngaya, humming at the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. Yesterday we have a bumblebee here. Was really intoxicated, was very greedy. He wouldn't leave the flower for anything. He was like trying to suck the very last piece of it. So he's always tasting the nectar, the pollen of the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. Like sometimes in our tradition, this will be depicted poetically. Like a bumblebee starts to drink the nectar of the pollen of the lotus, and at night the lotus starts to close. But the bumblebee is so intoxicated that forgot about everything, so becomes trapped in the lotus. So that's the example between Krishna and his devotees. Each of them are bumblebees entering into the lotus heart of each other. And they start to drink the pollen of their hearts and become so intoxicated that the lotus closes and they become trapped in each other's heart. Sadabo hridayam mahyam. That's what Krishna says. My devotees are my heart. I am the heart of my devotees. We are trapped in each other's lotus-like hearts, right? So this is the last verse. The first three, as I said, may be more related to Prabhupada's campaign, Achar, his role as an Acharya, as an exemplary sadhaka. But here we have a little bit more of his eternal identity. In my personal opinion, and that of many others like Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and things that Prabhupada himself said, Srila Prabhupada has an affinity for Sakya Bhav, for being a friend with Krishna. He himself said that many times. Literally, he said a few times, I'm a cowherd boy. So you cannot get it more direct than that. Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj, who wrote these poems, he knew about this because he was a disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, who he himself said, when I read in Prabhupada's poem in the Jaladuta that I told you before, when he's bargaining with Krishna, remember, Krishna, if you want Radha to like you. So Srila Sridhar read that and said, oh, that's Sakya Rasa. No, he's speaking to Krishna like a Priyanarma Saka. No? Like that, a friend of Krishna who knows about his romantic dealings with Sri Radha. Because Krishna has 4 types of sakas. Sakas, Suhrit Sakas, anyhow, different sakas. But only the Priyanarma Sakas know what Krishna's romantic, clandestine, and extramarital affairs with the gopis. So they are kind of the manjaris from the Saka side of the equation. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj confirmed that. And of course, someone would say, well, if he's inclined to Sakya Bhav, but this verse is mentioning gaura-sri-rupa-siddhanta-saraswati. So Mahaprabhu is primarily tasting Radha Bhav, Rupa Goswami's Rupa Manjari, Siddhanta Saraswati, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Nayanamani Manjari. So, and he's described as constantly engaged in their service. So we are bringing some Purva-paksha here, some opposing arguments, how to understand that. But again, the point is that the Priyanarma Sakas have a very deep connection with the Madhurya Rasa camp. No? So they're actually on a daily basis in the Lila, Priyanarma Sakas and the Manjaris. Actually, one name for a Manjari is Priyanarma Saki. No? So we have the Priyanarma Sakis and the Priyanarma Sakas, and the two of them are really communicated on a daily basis. They are one team. The two of them are, we have to get Radha and Krishna together, no matter what. And we have these prayers for them. I'm willing to die millions of times to just warranty the reunion even once, or things like that. So, yes, we will say Anarpita Chirim Chirat and all that. The highest reach of Mahaprabhu's dispensation is Radha Dasyam. That's the main current we find in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. But that doesn't stop there. His dispensation includes other currents as well. In fact, Chaitanya Charitamrita speaks of Charibhav, 4 moods. But Sakya Rasa in particular and Priyanarma Rasa in particular is very supportive role to Madhurya Rasa. Krishna's friends are required in so many moments, like when Radha and Krishna are in separation from each other. Again, Radha needs to be given hope and support and by her Sakis and Priyanarma Sakis. So Krishna the same, he needs his friends, his intimate friends who know his heart of hearts, to give support, to give hope, to make arrangement for a new meeting. So, and someone may argue, as sometimes that happened, that, okay, but if Prabhupada is in Sakya Rasa, then he cannot be called a Rupanuga, because only Rupanugas are those who serve Rupa Goswami in Manjari Bhav. Sorry if I'm getting too specific, but just a few details on that. I have an interesting quote from Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj in this connection. Because some people say, if you follow some other mood which is not Manjari Bhav, you can be Raganuga, but not Rupanuga. Rupanuga are those whole Rupa Goswami as Rupa Goswami and Rupa Manjari. Well, Srila Keshav Maharaj has a different view on that. So he says strongly, in the name of Rupanuga Bhajan, the Ichade Pakka Sahajas, those who prematurely think themselves to be mature before actually being so, like an unripe jackfruit, those who have strayed from the path accept only Parakya Madhurya Rasa as bhajan. They have concluded that there is no other rasa, such as Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and so on, within Rupanuga Bhajan. This indeed reveals the Sahaja's cult's ignorance of Rasa Tattva. So, intense. So basically, he's saying you can be a Rupanuga and have an affinity in the direction different from Madhurya Rasa. We shouldn't create an elite out of our preferred inclination. In my first book, I referred to that as racism. Not racism. Racism. To be racist in the context of rasa. No? Only this rasa is the best. Only this, everything else is bad. So again, Srila Prabhupada, in this connection, we can see the gift of Mahaprabhu. Again, goes beyond only Radha Dasyam. Being a Rupanuga follower of Sri Rupa goes beyond aligning with him only Madhurya Rasa. And in connection to Bhakti Siddhanta-Saraswati Thakur, who was himself described himself as Nayanamani Manjari, we will say that Srila Prabhupada, if we want to think of Prabhupada as a sadhana siddha bhakta, as he himself described, and just following that for a moment, someone who attained perfection through practice, and he will describe himself as being born in a family where Sakya Rasa was predominant, no? In the line of one of the main followers of Mahaprabhu, who had this Udarana Datta Thakur, that's his name. So he was born in that line. So he had some Sakya Rasa in his DNA, so to say. And the influence of Bhaktivedanta-Saraswati Thakur's Madhurya Rasa makes a combination of Sakya and Madhurya, which is Priyanarma Sakya. No? A friend of Krishna, sensitive to his romantic life, basically. And somehow that's confirmed in the last line of this Pranama-mantra. hare-krsna-padambhoja-bhrngaya gurave namah. He's like a bumblebee humming at the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. No, not only did the gopis or the manjaris do that, Priyanarma Sakas also offer service to Sri Radha and Krishna. Anyhow, a few words I want to share today, trying to praise Srila Prabhupada and his appearance day, in this case through his Pranama-mantra. Hopefully that sheds some light into his life and identity and his qualities and his gift. And of course, the whole Pranama-mantra concludes saying Gurave Namaha. Now, we shouldn't underestimate. Gurave means Sri Gurudev, Sri Guru, and Namaha is such an important word, no? Which is, Namaha technically means not me. No? Like if I say to you, Namaste, not me, but you. No? Will be a negative way of saying Swaha, right? As Krishna Chandra was explaining yesterday, Swaha. No? I offer myself, I am the offering. So Namaha is in a negative way saying, it's not about my false ego, my false self, but my real self offered for the pleasure of our object of affection. In that way, we offer our Namaha, Namaste, Pranam to Srila Prabhupada, but with infinite grace. We are in so many ways we are gathered today here because of him, by whose grace many of us came to know about Gaudiya Vaishnavism directly, and those who came to know another way indirectly, Srila Prabhupada somehow was fairly involved in that. And by whose grace we have the opportunity of not only praising him today, but the continuing serving him in eternity. That's our brilliant prospect. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Avirbhav Mahotsav Titi Yasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Nandotsav ki jai. Shri Radha Govinda Ju ki jai. Shri Gaur Gadadhar Ju ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Vanchakalpataru Vischa Sindhu Veva Chabatitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah.